Welcome to Module 7 of Action Research. Can you believe it? The final module. You did it. I feel like this flew by. I was super excited, 3-4 months ago when I was really starting to think about planning the course and I started to think about what would be going on. I wanted there to be something just a little bit more than the text and the readings. I wanted to see how close I could get the course to what it used to be, where there was an actual action research project. I think we did pretty well. Here you are with an action research proposal. Five sections handed in, poster presentation abstract submitted already and under review with Create It State, and your actual poster under development this week. I think that's pretty awesome. I hope you do too. So regarding the poster itself and then the final deadlines this week, right? Don't forget, so Wednesday, February 27th, Wednesday is the adjusted deadline for your Module 7 reading response. And Friday, March 1st, at the end of the day, is the deadline for the peer response, as well as any late remaining discussion posts. But please make sure you email Sarah or me and let us know that you're posting something late, just so we know where it is. But I don't believe at this point there are any late posts. And again, this is all due to the last day of the AOS course calendar. So for the action research poster, there's a Friday, March 1st deadline. This is that same deadline. Again, due to the AOS calendar, it will not be possible to hand in the action research poster late due to the end of the calendar of the term without documentation of extenuating circumstances. And there's a very limited window beyond that for talking about things like an incomplete grade. So make sure to get that poster started very shortly if you haven't already. Push yourself, right? Hand it in early, hand it in confidently. I have an additional video this week to support that poster and the use of our rather generously sized PowerPoint template, which is a different form of template, the first non-Microsoft Word template I have ever offered, by the way. And then some further thoughts on injecting your material into that template, working with it efficiently. Just a few tips. Make sure you're reaching out with your questions that you have regarding the poster. You're certainly welcome to send me your poster if you have questions about layout, things like that. I will tell you that sometimes when you move that poster from one computer to another by email, things like font and everything can affect what I see. So you can always render a PDF version of it while in progress, and that would probably be the best way for me to see actually what you're looking at. Ultimately, be reaching out those questions, full confident submission before the deadline, right? That's the goal. Please be patient during the grading process. We'll turn the feedback around as quickly as possible. And as I'll mention. I'll mention in the other video, but also, handing the poster in requires saving it as a PDF format. You work on it in PowerPoint, save it as a PDF, and hand it in as a PDF. All right, let's jump into content. So given Chapter 7, and given that this is our final module, I wanted to make sure that we were devoting some time and thinking toward the action itself. What action will you take, right? The research itself doesn't take action. I mean, look at my research example. It's nothing but ink on a page. It's nothing but ones and zeros in a computer, right? It's nothing but a Word file. It's nothing but a PowerPoint file or a PDF file, right? That's what it literally is. We human beings, we're the action, right? And not just you, the author of a study, or me, the author of a study. Not necessarily the action. It's people that are the action, right? Now the researcher, I think, is definitely a starting point for the action, but I want to make sure that we focused on that theme for the chapter and drawn out some take-home advice that I hope will stoke some appreciation for the action, which is the most important thing in all this to remember. And the other thing is, there is actually a lot of action that you can do and you can take with this action research, right? So, as you see in the talking points, and this kind of have this theme, different types of action drawn out in the chapter, right? So, first type of action, engaging passions. From page 148, education is a wonderfully multifaceted activity requiring carefully structured and skillfully implemented programs of learning to provide for the complex needs of students. And a key feature of this process is the need to ensure that the primary stakeholders are centrally involved in the process, right? People's passions, right here. Action research is a complex process both for the stakeholders and also because of the stakeholders. That's my thoughts. I've got quotes and my opinions in italics on those talking points. Next, taking action, solving problems in the form of priorities, pathways, plans, and supervision, kind of merging those four sections. Research participants need to step back a few paces to scrutinize the information they have acquired, page 149. They need to utilize carefully formulated plans that support the concrete steps needed to accomplish a desired outcome, page 150. Participants should further review the plan to check and clarify, page 152, and supervise implementation, page 154. In other words, action research requires a plan, dedication, effort, and fidelity to the process, to your methodology. All right, taking action, changes to teaching and learning. From page 154, action research may be applied to a wide range of teaching learning processes and provide opportunities to inquire systematically into the meanings embedded in state or district curriculum standards, extending understanding of the broader purposes and possibilities for student learning. Again, that's page 154. Action research can apply in many ways, and it can make a difference. That's the take-home point there. Action research, larger curriculum development. Don't worry, it's evening. It's a water hour, not a coffee hour. Taking action, larger curricular development. Participatory action research provides an authentic context in which teachers, learners, and other stakeholders develop a shared culture of learning through the collaborative development of common meanings and purposes, page 160. Action research can help satisfy the need of curriculum development for collaboration, and perhaps even guard against the impact of it being driven by one voice alone. So, in other words, I think action research can help make curriculum development a larger, more collaborative, more transparent process, rather than curriculum development be driven by one voice and one opinion and one agenda at the local level or at larger political levels. It all depends on the scope, the dissemination of the action research, right? Taking action, program assessment, and professional development. This is one of my favorite aspects of action research. Action research can serve a formative purpose in assessment. That our text talks about that a great deal. That it's not summative. It's not at the end of everything. Action research is an in-progress type of research. It speaks to a broader set of criteria, attempting to understand the more complex processes through which learning takes place rather than solely measuring or describing student performance on a specific set of learning outcomes, page 164. Action research provides the means for formulating relevant and effective professional development programs, page 167. In other words, I believe that action research can supplement and enhance what we know via standardized assessment. Standardized testing, the big test, can certainly tell us one big thing. Action research can tell us more along the way. Taking action, the school and community. Action research is particularly effective in situations where students come from culturally diverse families and communities, on page 170. So as teachers, we are advocates for our students' identities and their diverse backgrounds, always, every moment of every day. And part of that advocacy means making education better for them. Now, sometimes making education better for our diverse students is simply about the classroom climate that we create, simply about the way that we teach. It could very well be exploring or mining our pedagogical process when it comes to data and producing disseminated research where what we do to benefit the diverse students in our classrooms can actually inspire others to benefit their diverse students in the same ways. So you could pay it forward, you could pay it outward perhaps. Taking action, the big picture. Action research, therefore, may be used at the level of school system, or state educational system as a mean for accomplishing large-scale developments, page 172. In other words, action research can apply at any level and can support change at any level. Don't just think action research is about changing your classroom, because it could go bigger. Taking action. Great way to look at that chapter. Great. Hopefully you feel that that's a great way to cap off looking at the book. So the recommended article this week is a piece of my own work, plus the poster version. I'm actually going to talk about the poster first, so because the poster came before the article. So I hope you enjoy this look at some of my own work. This will get you a look at something that I produced last spring as part of my own scholarships. That's spring of 18. My hope is that your understanding of this course has sort of grown in this direction, sort of a bit like this in proposal form, of course. You could imagine what this might look like without any data collected, right? Imagine what this might have looked like as a concept, as an action research proposal, for example, prior to my data collection. So I tend to prefer the forms of teaching, right, being the constructivist that I am, where we move in the direction of the understanding and you build it together. I'm not one to just hand you an example and say, okay, replicate this. So that's why I don't share this example in the first week, because your topic will be different than my topic. Your methodology could be different than mine. Indeed, you may be a positivist, you may be more of a naturalist, and you may believe in collecting and measuring what's out there in the environment, and you may believe that that is where knowledge comes from, and that is a perfectly valid epistemological stance. But if that is your epistemological stance, it would mean that my study and my poster, for example, would look vastly different from yours, right? So I hope you don't feel any pressure that your poster should look like mine, because it shouldn't. With my work, it was overseen by human subjects approval from our IRB board. I collected the data, I analyzed it, I completed the study. So, like I said, the poster happened first, somewhat by happenstance, actually. I began my study at the start of the spring semester, and I was very much in a research mood. I had to get something scholarly done. It was just one of those, like, passionately scholarly driven springs, right? So I began the study at the start of an academic semester. Did initial interview and survey collection with my participants, and then during the interim of the semester, I wasn't on standby because I had data to analyze and begin working with. I did have an exit interview at the end of the semester, where I was hoping to gather a little bit of additional interview data. But we had a forum for faculty just to share our teaching, what we felt was innovative or insightful about our teaching with each other, which was called Learn at State, as you might imagine. And I have a little visual right there, little mouse pad they gave us. But it was called Learn at State. Methodologically speaking, I'd collected enough data to analyze for more than a poster, but I wanted to put it in more of a brief, at a glance format. I didn't want it to be too data heavy because I felt like it would just be nothing but clips of the discourse, and I wanted it digested down, analyzed pretty well. So as you look over the PDF of the poster, you'll see some familiar elements: origin, literature. You'll see from the literature that I did look at, I pulled 4 key themes out of literature that I felt were articulated well in literature to use as a lens for examining, for coding my data, which is in Figure 1. Questions, participants, the framework, the data collection, sections, they all run a course that I think you might expect that hopefully seems kind of familiar in style to you. In my outcomes, I examined the nature of the interview responses, and I mapped the 4 themes from the literature into them. I mapped them together. To further the triangulation, I also mapped in the results of the survey into the mix, which evolves over the course of tables 1, 2, and 3. Constantly asking myself, right, is this anything? Is this anything, right? Recursively examining my data with new insight in mind. Does it call into question how I coded things, or does it add further support to them, right? And it all led to the conclusions and recommendations that followed, and the references are at the end. I felt that they would surely grow as my study grew, because there was still some additional literature that I was interested in reviewing to see if I needed to go back to my analysis process with new coding in mind. But I remained pretty fond of what I had. So I knew that I had exit interviews coming at the end of that semester, which at the time I didn't know if they would enhance my conclusions. I didn't know if they would provide more fuel to the study, or perhaps turn it upside down, or maybe be a dead end. It's possible that scheduling of my research subjects may have negated getting those exit interviews done in a timely manner, or sometimes in a fresh manner if your research subjects are too far removed from the moment or from the setting under examination. That can impact the findings, right? So I didn't know what might happen. That's why I was really banking on the beginning data, the early data collection. At any rate, the poster ended up in this format, and as you can see overall, I have multiple tables and figures, so there's several different things that catch your eye as you look around it. If you see the commonality, I used a figures approach for analysis and instruments, like my survey instrument, my survey questions, my interview questions, and I used a table-based approach for the results. It's got the A-State, it's got our literacy logo, it's got a splash of A-State Scarlet Red to entertain the eye. I didn't want it to go too dark, too light. I kind of like the blend. And so at this point, I'll assume at this point you've read over the poster to a certain degree, because it's a good condensed version of the full study. It makes a handy pre-read for the article as well. I was fortunate that I did the bulk of the interview data at the beginning. The exit interview did not reveal anything particularly earth-shattering. Those responses turned out to be far more brief than I thought they would. So that worked out well. I was glad that in hindsight, that I'd pushed that early interview as much as I did. Much of the article will seem familiar based on the poster until you get to the first section of the data analysis, where I discuss the honors papers and presentations that the research subjects did to provide more context for the study. It's pages 3 through 4 of the article. The real meaty difference of the article is the degree of semi-structured interview discourse that I share over the course of pages 6 through 8 under 3 different level 3 headings, which further draw out those themes from the literature that I used as coding. And if you're a fan of qualitative data, I think you'll find this stretch of the article a great deal more interesting than the poster, because it'll have clips and examples from the discourse data that I used to highlight an emerging theme or trend that I believe supported what I found in literature, or in other words, an emerging theme or trend that coded noticeably in line with what I found in literature. And then that article was published in our Arkansas Association of Teacher Education online journal. I presented it at the ARATE gathering here in the state, and then they published it in the state level journal, which was a lot of fun. I was glad that I could support the organization with contributing a piece of work, but it also, to me, reaffirmed beliefs that I had in the process, that I could extract a meaningful chunk of research-based knowledge out of an educational setting that I was a participant observer in. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy that look at my work and an example. Imagine gaining human subjects approval and actually conducting your study, analyzing your data, and putting together the final results. It can be done. It can be done. And if you have further thoughts about this, please reach out. I could talk on the phone all day about this stuff, so you might want to block out some time. Well, this has been a tremendous course to work with. You've been an outstanding group. We've blazed some new trails, I think, with this course that hopefully can continue in future offerings. I was a bit, like I said, I was a bit nervous, but it's worked out great. I hope you're all proud of what you've done. I can't wait to see posters on display at Create It State. I got my fingers crossed for each of your abstract submissions. I can't wait to hear about those. Probably into early March. Probably first week in March. I'll bet you'll probably be getting emails with results if you're selected. I hope to make another additional video to post in the course late, so it'll be like making a video and posting it here in the course after the course is done. But hopefully I can show off the setting a little bit. You should still have access to the course in Blackboard, so keep an eye on your A-State email even when the course is done, in case you hear from me and I tell you to go back into the course on Blackboard, back into Module 7, and I'll see if I can sneak in an additional video once the course is done, so you can see more of the results. In the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out with your emails and questions. Keep in touch. I'm looking forward to working with you again in the future, and for some of you, I hope it's this summer in New Literacies. I'm so excited to have that EDS course in the summer. Wolves up. Thanks for everything.